Welcome, steadfast listeners of the Winning Paths podcast from TIFAM, where each draw of the bow is a gesture toward clarity, and every path trodden leads deeper into the lived terrain of archery and thought. In this second chapter of An Arrow Knows No Master, we walk with the ancient Stoics, Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, whose teachings remain as grounded and enduring as the grain of seasoned wood. This episode traces the archer's journey through the architecture of inner strength. We turn our attention to the citadel within, the place where decisions are shaped, where calm is chosen, and where action aligns with a deeper, enduring rhythm. Epictetus speaks of our true domain, the choices we make, the thoughts we tend. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the bow is drawn best from a mind in harmony with nature and duty. Seneca offers the tools for weathering pressure with clarity and grace. Here the practice of archery becomes philosophy in motion. Each step to the line, each measured breath, each shot offered with full presence builds towards something steady, something that does not tremble in the face of wind or doubt. This is the work of fortitude. This is the architecture of the unwavering gaze. Of things some are in our power and others are not. In our power are opinion, movement towards a thing, desire, aversion, and in one word, whatever are our own acts. Not in our power are the body, property, reputation, offices, and in one word, whatever are not our own acts. Epictetus, Enchiridion. A hush indeed descends upon the heart, there at the archery line, a breath indrawn and deeply held just as the world prepares to turn upon its very axis, just before the arrow whispers its soft farewell to the string, embarking into the land of consequence. It is a quietude akin to the heart of night itself, a space where all the shimmering maybes hang suspended in the air like distant, far-off stars. In that charged and potent stillness, the mind, your mind, can prove your truest, dearest friend or else a tormentor, unseen yet fiercely present. The target, be it 100 paces distant, or but a breath, a hop, skip, and a jump away, seems to issue its own distinct call. Now a welcoming circle, an embrace of what could be, now a mocking eye, reflecting back at you the mirror of your own most private worries. And the arrow, the arrow itself, it seems to possess a will, a mind all its own, once loosed and gone, the arc of its flight, the place where it at last finds rest, that is ever a mingling of your best laid intentions and the world's own untamed, unpredictable nature, the unseen sigh of the wind, the earth's barely perceptible tremble beneath your feet. The bow, it is a teacher grand, a stern one, perhaps, yet kind enough to those who would attend and learn its ways. It reveals to you the very lay of your own inner landscape, the intrinsic grain and texture of being alive. And in this schooling, the ancient voices of the Stoics, those souls who wrestled profoundly with fate, with fortune, with what it truly means to live a life well lived, and find that measure of genuine flourishing, they speak with a clear, unwavering rhythm that resonates, that passes right through you. The truth of being an archer, you come to understand, is that the truest challenges reside as much within you, in that hidden country of the self, as they do out there, in the caprice of wind and the stretch of distance. That little tremor in the hand, betraying a flicker of insidious doubt, the sudden sharp rush of annoyance when an arrow flies wide of your intent, the quiet, swelling joy of a bullseye that can, if you allow it, puff you up with a foolish, fleeting pride. These are the very currents of the mind. Stoicism, born from a crucible of upheaval, a time when empires shifted and a sense of uncertainty settled upon humankind, offers itself as a steadying handrail, a means to navigate those inner waters with a quiet strength, a profound calm that settles deep within your bones. It is a philosophy forged in the very fires of adversity, articulated by such men as Zeno of Citium, who first lit its flame, Epictetus, who journeyed from enslavement to enlightenment as a teacher, Seneca, the statesman and playwright of piercing insight, and Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who wore the philosopher's heart. They all knew, intimately, the sharp sting of loss and the heavy, solemn weight of duty. Stoicism, in its essence, asks you to look the world squarely in the eye, to discern with clarity what you indeed have power over, your thoughts, your aims, your desires and your aversions, and what, by contrast, belongs to the greater, vaster dance of life, the choreography of which you cannot always fathom. For the archer, the knowing of this difference is like the finding of pure gold, a treasure truly beyond all earthly price. Picture this now, if you will allow. Old Epictetus, his body bearing the indelible marks of his time in servitude, yet his spirit luminous, unbroken, leaning upon his staff, observing an archer on a field awash in sunlight. He would nod slowly, I reckon, a knowing, thoughtful glint within his eye, at the meticulous care with which the archer proceeds, the precise, considered placement of the feet, the deliberate knocking of the arrow onto the familiar, trusted string, the smooth, exquisitely controlled pull that brings the feathers to their appointed place, steady and true. Here, he might murmur, his voice a calm and tranquil island amidst the quiet hum of the shooting line. Here lies your kingdom. This is your own small sovereign world. So all this careful, painstaking preparation, the countless hours devoted to perfecting your form, the unwavering, laser-like focus on executing each element with propriety, this is what is up to us, what we possess a direct and undeniable say in, the lifting of the bow arm, the easy, fluid stretch through your back, the clean, almost surprising release of the string, the quiet, suspended stillness thereafter as the arrow commences its solitary journey. These are your own, your very own actions. These are the ways you choose to be, to manifest in the world. For Epictetus, this profound power of choice, this unerring inner compass, is the very heart, the essence of who you are. It is your moral character, your innate capacity to decide, your will, your considered judgment. It is what defines you as human, this inner voice that perceives what unfolds and then chooses its response. It is the sole thing that truly, irrevocably belongs to you. The archer's power of choice reveals itself in the steadfast decision to practice with diligence, to attend with full presence, to aim for excellence in every facet of the shot. It is an unwavering commitment to doing things in the right way, the true way. Epictetus, a man who knew intimately both the cold feel of chains and the boundless freedom that philosophy can bestow, taught this simple, liberating truth. You find your peace, that deep quietude of mind, by discerning with unwavering clarity what you can control and what you, ultimately, cannot. The archer stands at this very crossroads with every single arrow they loose and let fly. The effort invested, the purity of intention, the careful, methodical way of proceeding that you have practiced time and time again, these are held firmly, securely within the archer's hands. But the flight of the arrow, once it has departed from the bow, that is where other forces, other elements come into play. A sudden, playful gust of wind, a minuscule, unnoticed flaw within the arrow's shaft, a barely perceptible shift in the density of the air, these, in Epictetus's clear-eyed, unflinching view, are not up to us. They are external things, occurrences you might prefer to be one way or another, yet in the final reckoning they do not, cannot, truly touch that deep, inviolable sense of well-being. Ponder it for a moment now, if you please. How many times have you witnessed an archer, or perhaps been that very archer yourself, slump defeatedly in despair, or become all heated and visibly bothered when an arrow fails to land where it was intended, or veers off into the outer rings for no discernible cause? The shoulders droop, the head shakes, a shadow, a veritable cloud, darkens their countenance. A perfectly good morning, a fine day meant for the simple, unadulterated pleasure of shooting, turns sour, turns bitter, in a fleeting instant. Epictetus, with his characteristic manner of being at once direct and deeply kind, would gently, patiently inquire, "Friend, what is it that truly troubles you so? The place where the arrow landed, was that entirely, solely your own doing? Or is it perhaps more about what you think, what you believe, about where it landed that is the wellspring of all this present turmoil?" The disciplined agreement of which he speaks is precisely about choosing how you respond to these external happenings. You must learn, he would urge, to assent only to what is true, to how things genuinely are, not to your own often distorted, emotionally coloured interpretation of them. You can agree that the shot missed its mark. The arrow struck the 7 ring at 3 o'clock, without simultaneously assenting to the ensuing rush of negative feeling or the harshness of self-blame. I am a terrible archer. This is an unmitigated disaster. The arrow landed where it landed. That is a fact, an occurrence external to you. That its flight somehow diminishes your worth, that it signifies your failure, those are merely your thoughts, your opinions, appended to the fact. And so the Stoic archer observes what has transpired, gleans whatever lesson might be learned from it. Perhaps they misjudged the wind's subtle play, or imparted a slight flick to the string upon release, or their mind, for a fleeting second, wandered, and then immediately they return to their task, to the next shot, to that which they can truly, undeniably control. From this foundation arise disciplined wanting, disciplined not wanting. What you truly, authentically want should concern itself solely with being a good person and with acting in the right way. What you turn away from, what you avert yourself from, should pertain only to falling into vice or acting against that true inner compass. When you consider this in the context of archery, it translates to wanting to shoot well, to execute all the requisite steps correctly, with your fullest attention and utmost care, rather than merely wanting a particular score, a medal, or the applause of onlookers. The genuine desire is to do your best, an aim you can pursue directly from within yourself. The result, while certainly pleasing if it is good, becomes secondary, a mere echo of the true work you have undertaken. The archer's task, their intrinsic role, is to shoot well. The universe, in its own time and manner, will arrange the rest. This way of thinking liberates the archer from an overweening attachment to the outcome, and it cultivates a resilient spirit that discovers its most profound satisfaction in the effort itself, in that quiet, harmonious hum of your body and mind working in focused, unified concert. The world may perform its unpredictable dance, the arrows will fly as they will, yet the archer remains centered, their mind steadfastly on the next breath, the next draw, the next precious, singular moment of sending a small piece of themselves out into the world, with as much care, skill, and inherent goodness as they can possibly summon. Lucius Annaeus Seneca, a man of incandescent intellect and a life woven with complexities, who knew both the glittering, treacherous halls of Nero's palace and the desolate, lonely shores of exile, wrote with a profound experiential understanding of how our emotions can stir and unsettle us. He knew all too well how anger, frustration, fear, and sorrow can cloud one's judgment, distort perception, and poison that deep well of inner peace, that cherished quietude of mind. For the archer, these feelings are familiar, sometimes unwelcome, guests at the internal table. The arrow that veers off course for no apparent reason, the piece of essential kit that breaks at the most inopportune moment, the heavy, palpable feeling of competition that tightens the chest and makes the fingers tremble. These occurrences can unleash a veritable flood of feelings, threatening to wash away all your carefully constructed calm. Seneca, in his luminous letters and essays such as On Anger and On the Tranquility of Mind, would counsel us to meet these challenging moments not by fiercely fighting them or attempting to push them away, but with a mind that is prepared, the mind that understands. His potent, insightful idea of premeditating adversity, of calmly, thoughtfully considering what might go awry, is like a robust shield against the often unexpected blows of fortune. This practice is not about succumbing to gloom or dwelling needlessly on the negative, not in the least. It is, rather, a sensible, pragmatic way of looking ahead, calmly contemplating the things that could reasonably transpire, and by so doing, stripping them of their power to shock, to overwhelm, and to throw you utterly off your game, or if they do indeed occur. The archer, in a quiet, reflective moment before practice or a significant competition, might undertake this Senecan exercise. Today, my scores might fall lower than I usually achieve. My bowstring could, without warning, snap. The wind might prove a tricky and vexing opponent. My most trusted arrow might break upon impact with the target. By acknowledging these possibilities, not as certainties, but as events that could happen, you are, in essence, mentally arming yourself. If the arrow breaks, I shall calmly select another from my quiver. If the wind suddenly, unexpectedly picks up, I shall adjust my aim with careful consideration, or I shall accept that these are challenging conditions for all, and my true task is to manage my reaction to them. If I experience a poor round, I shall review my actions, ascertain if there were any correctable mistakes, take a deep, centering breath, and begin anew with the next arrow, viewing it as a fresh, untainted opportunity. This manner of preparation is not about wishing for ill fortune. It is about constructing a formidable mental defense. When misfortune does arrive, as it surely will in the course of archery and in the broader tapestry of life, it comes as an anticipated guest, one for whom you have already prepared a calm and sensible welcome, rather than as a shocking, disorienting intruder. Seneca, with characteristic acuity, called anger a short madness. And who amongst us, having poured heart and soul into the demanding discipline of the bow, has not felt that sudden, irrational surge of heat when a shot goes wildly astray, betraying all our meticulous preparation and focused intent? One might feel the impulse to curse the bow, the arrow, the wind, or even oneself. But Seneca, ever the practical, pragmatic soul, would gently, insistently ask, "What good, pray tell, will this anger achieve? Will it make the next arrow fly any straighter? Will it steady your trembling hand or clear your clouded mind? It will not. It merely adds another layer of impediment, another hurdle to surmount." The Stoic archer, guided by Seneca's profound wisdom, learns to observe the first nascent stirrings of frustration or anger, much as one would observe a passing cloud in the vast expanse of the sky. Notice it, yes, its color, its shape, but choose not to be carried away by it, choose not to become it. The archer can utilize the inherent rhythm and discipline of the shot sequence itself as a potent means to manage their emotions. The slow, calming breath taken before drawing the bow, The intense, focused awareness of how the nock feels upon the string, the sensation of the grip in your hand, the steadily increasing tension in your back as you draw, the solid, reassuring anchor point, the steady, controlled expansion. These physical and mental anchors can ground you firmly, resolutely, in the present moment, pulling your mind away from fruitless rumination over past errors or anxieties about future uncertainties. This is a way of living in profound harmony with nature, as Seneca would articulate it. Not merely the grand, indifferent nature of the cosmos, but the intrinsic nature of your own being, your own optimal way of functioning, both physically and mentally. When you are calm, focused, and fully present, you almost invariably shoot better. Your body knows this truth. Your mind at times requires a gentle yet firm reminder. Imagine, if you will, a sudden, unexpected downpour during an important outdoor competition. One archer becomes utterly agitated, their inner voice a torrent of complaints about the unfairness of the weather, the discomfort of the rain. Their shots, consequently, scatter widely, their frustration mounting, thereby exacerbating the situation. Another archer, perhaps one who has taken Seneca's timeless words to heart, accepts the rain as simply a constituent part of what is happening on that particular day. They calmly adjust their stance on the now slippery ground, endeavor to keep their equipment as dry as practicable, and focus with even greater intensity on each minute component of their shot. The rain is an element outside of their direct control. Their reaction to it, their inner state, that is what they still possess agency over. This archer understands, deeply, that the true battle is often waged not against external opponents or prevailing conditions, but within the confines of their own mind. They manage their emotions not by attempting to suppress them, but by understanding that these emotions stem from their own fallible judgments, by choosing a mode of reaction that aligns with their primary objective, to shoot with clarity, purpose, and unwavering calm, irrespective of circumstance. They know that fortune may indeed hurl various adversities their way, but their own inherent goodness, their inner fortitude, remains inviolate, untouched. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius, inscribing his private reflections in his meditations, amidst the unceasing tumult of wars on the Danube frontier and the weighty, manifold responsibilities of governing the Roman Empire, spoke often and profoundly of the inner citadel, that formidable fortress within your mind, the sanctuary wherein you can retreat, discover deep and abiding peace, and steadfastly hold to your moral compass, regardless of how chaotic the external world may become. For the archer, the shooting line, though it may appear a place of quiet, intense focus, can in reality be quite clamorous, both externally and internally. There is the customary chatter of fellow archers, the subtle, often unacknowledged sensation of being observed, the pressure you impose upon yourself, and that which others might exert upon you in a competitive setting, the ceaseless inner dialogue of doubts, hopes, and self-recrimination. The building of this inner citadel, it must be said, is a lifelong endeavor, a constant evolving process of dedicated self-cultivation. Yet, it is also something you can actively engage in each moment, with every mindful action, every single deliberate shot. When the archer steps forth to the shooting line, they can consciously choose to enter this inner sanctum of calm, of unwavering, resolute focus. The ambient noise of the crowd, the perceived expectations of others, the burning, often distracting desire for a specific outcome, the lingering memory of a poorly executed shot just taken, these things are gently but firmly left outside the protective walls of your citadel. Within, there exists only the task immediately at hand, the familiar, comforting feel of the bow, the smooth, sleek arrow, the distant, inviting target, and the well-practiced, almost ritualistic steps that bring them together in a brief, elegant dance of intention and release. Marcus Aurelius placed immense importance upon duty, the imperative to do what is right, what aligns with nature and with reason. For the Stoic, duty is fundamentally about playing your allotted part in the grand drama of life with inherent goodness, with diligent effort, and with unwavering dedication. The archer's primary duty, understood in this deeper, more resonant sense, is to shoot each arrow with as much meticulous care, precision, and unwavering attention as they can possibly muster in that singular, precious moment. It is a duty owed to the long and venerable tradition of archery, to your own continuous growth as a person, and to the profound, intrinsic importance of the present moment. This means dedicating your whole self to the shot, whether it be the very first arrow loosed in the quiet solitude of a dawn practice, or the final, decisive arrow of a grueling, hard-fought championship. The score you ultimately achieve, the applause of those observing, whether you receive praise or criticism, these are all secondary, mere echoes in the larger scheme. The principal thing, the element that truly, deeply matters, is the honest and virtuous fulfillment of your duty to the shot. The emperor also wrote with great perspicacity and understanding about accepting fate, or more accurately, about calmly, serenely accepting things as they are, as integral parts of a larger, rational, and often inscrutable order of the universe. This is not to be mistaken for a passive resignation, a mere shrugging acceptance of whatever happens, happens. It is rather about actively and intelligently comprehending that the universe operates according to its own inherent, immutable laws. The arrow's flight, a thing of beauty and intricate complexity, is governed by the unyielding laws of physics, by the prevailing weather conditions at that precise moment, by the subtle, often imperceptible interplay of a multitude of factors. While you, as the archer, exert a significant influence upon how it commences its journey, you cannot possess complete and utter control over where it ultimately comes to rest. Accepting this fundamental, unalterable truth allows the archer to release the arrow, and then, crucially, to release the outcome. Whatever transpires, transpires. The archer's responsibility was wholly contained in the quality of its sending, in the propriety of their execution. Imagine an archer immersed in a tense, nerve-wracking shoot-off. The ambient sounds of the range recede into a hush of quiet anticipation. Their opponent has just loosed a perfect arrow, striking true in the very heart of the gold. The pressure now feels almost tangible, a physical weight. This is precisely where the inner citadel becomes not merely a safe redoubt, but a profound source of strength. The archer turns inward. The clamour of expectation fades into silence. The opponent's score is registered as a simple fact, akin to the direction of the wind or the hue of the target. It is information, a circumstance, not a direct assault upon their inner calm or their capacity to act rightly. Their sole unwavering duty is to their own shot, to the process they have so carefully, diligently practiced. They focus on the familiar, comforting sensation of the bow grip in their hand, the precise, tactile feeling of the string against their fingers, the controlled, steadily accumulating power in their back. They breathe deeply and evenly. They aim with a gaze that is at once soft and intensely focused. They release with unwavering, resolute commitment. The arrow flies, a pure, unadulterated extension of their will, yet also a traveller embarking upon its own distinct path. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, within the private, reflective pages of his meditations, of the profound interconnectedness of all things within the universe. The archer, too, is an integral part of this larger, intricate tapestry. The bow, the arrow, the archer's body and mind, the target, the very air through which the arrow cleaves its path, they are all interconnected, all constituent parts of the same singular reality. A truly good shot is often, perhaps always, a moment of perfect, exquisite harmony within this complex dynamic system. Conversely, a poor shot can be perceived as a moment of misalignment, often stemming from a temporary disconnect within the archer themselves, the fleeting lapse of focus, a sudden unmastered surge of emotion, a minor, almost imperceptible slip in their technique. Being acutely aware of this interconnectedness can foster a deep sense of humility and a profound respect for the entirety of the process. It subtly shifts the inner narrative, me and my bow against the world, to us here in this shared unfolding moment, seeking our optimal alignment, our perfect harmonious rhythm. The archer who diligently, patiently constructs this inner citadel, who deeply understands their solemn duty to execute each shot well, and who accepts whatever outcomes may arise with a steady, untroubled mind, becomes a person possessed of a quiet, unassuming strength and a profound, unshakable resilience. They are less likely to be thrown off balance by an errant shot, or to become unduly carried away by a particularly successful one. Their performance, as a natural consequence, becomes more consistent because their inner state, their ruling mind, remains poised and balanced. They carry their peace with them, like an invisible protective shield, onto the shooting line and back out into the wider world. The Stoics, from Zeno onward, spoke with unwavering conviction about living in accordance with nature. To our contemporary ears, this phrase might resonate as somewhat vague, perhaps even tinged with a romantic idealism. Yet for the Stoics it was a clear, precise, and fundamental ethical directive. It signified living in alignment with reason, that divine, organizing principle they perceived as immanent within the universe, and, consequently, living in alignment with our own essential human nature at its noble, rational, sociable, and inherently capable of excellence. For the archer, this profound philosophical concept finds a wonderfully tangible, practical, and elegantly expressive manifestation in every facet of their dedicated pursuit. Living in accordance with nature, when translated to the discipline of archery, means meticulously aligning your actions with the well-established, time-honored principles of good form and with the unyielding, impartial realities of physics. Good archery form, painstakingly developed over millennia through meticulous trial and insightful error across diverse cultures, is not merely an aesthetic concern. It represents the most efficient and consistent method for transferring the energy stored within the archer's body through the medium of the bow into the kinetic motion of the arrow. This form inherently respects the biomechanics of the human body and the fundamental physical laws that govern the arrow's trajectory. When you stand grounded and stable like an ancient, deeply rooted oak tree, when your draw is smooth and powerful like the steady, inexorable pull of the tide, when your release is clean and sharp like the decisive snap of a dry twig, you are in those moments working with these natural principles, in harmonious concert with them, rather than struggling against them. The arrow, when launched in such a manner, flies truer, faster, and with greater consistency, precisely because it is dispatched in profound agreement with these fundamental elemental forces. Consider for a moment the archer who is perpetually wrestling with their equipment, who attempts to force the bow rather than employing proper alignment, practice technique, and the intelligent, judicious use of their back muscles. In that moment of struggle, they are living and shooting out of sync with the natural, inherent way of the shot. The result, all too often, is frustrating inconsistency, premature fatigue, an elevated risk of injury, and a diminished sense of joy in their endeavor. The Stoic archer, however, actively endeavors to comprehend these underlying principles. They meticulously study the arrow's flight, keenly observe the subtle, nuanced effects of minor adjustments in their form and their internal state, and constantly, patiently strive for that elusive quality of effortless power, that quiet intrinsic strength which is the unmistakable hallmark of true, deeply ingrained skill. This disciplined, thoughtful pursuit is in itself an act of reason, a profound engagement of the mind. Furthermore, living in accordance with nature involves a deep and nuanced understanding of the inherent qualities of the materials with which you are working, the wood or composite material of the bow, the specific characteristics of the arrow shafts, the type and condition of the fletching, the tensile strength and quality of the bowstring. Each component possesses its own unique properties, its inherent strengths and its intrinsic limitations. To expect these materials to perform in a manner beyond their structural or functional capacity is simply to invite disappointment and engender unnecessary frustration. Conversely, to work with these materials intelligently, with a clear understanding and profound respect for their capabilities, is to shoot with wisdom, with patience, and with a deeper, more resonant appreciation for the ancient craft. And what of our own human nature as the Stoics perceived it? They believed our primary, defining nature is to be rational and inherently good. In the realm of archery, this translates to bringing a clear, focused, and tranquil mind to each and every shot, a mind unencumbered by the sway of tumultuous emotions and distracting, unproductive thoughts. It means practicing with steadfast, consistent effort and honest, unflinching self-assessment, humbly acknowledging your weaknesses and diligently working to rectify them. It means treating fellow archers with due respect and inherent fairness, generously sharing your accumulated knowledge, and competing with unwavering honesty and genuine good sportsmanship. This, too, is a pivotal, indispensable part of living in accordance with nature. It extends organically to the Stoic concept of oikiosis, that feeling of profound connection and belonging, starting with your own body and mind, then reaching outward to encompass your family, your community, and eventually all of humanity and the universe itself. For the archer, this can manifest as a deep, almost symbiotic connection to their equipment, treating it with meticulous care and profound respect, as if it were an extension of their own body and intentions. It can foster a genuine sense of camaraderie with other archers, a recognition that you are all engaged in this shared pursuit. It can blossom into a deep, heartfelt appreciation for the natural setting of the archery range, for the very air that cradles and guides the arrow in its flight. There is a profound, tangible satisfaction that accompanies a well-executed shot, a feeling that transcends the mere act of hitting the target. It is a subtle yet powerful sense of intrinsic rightness, of all elements being in perfect, harmonious alignment. The archer's body, the bow, the arrow, and their focused, unwavering intention all coalesce in a single fluid and deeply satisfying moment. This is the distinct, unmistakable feeling of acting in accordance with nature. It is a quiet internal joy, a deep, almost visceral sense of being in the right place, doing the right thing in precisely the right way. The wind may still play its unpredictable tricks, the target may still appear miles distant, yet the archer who genuinely, earnestly seeks this inner and outer harmony discovers a formidable resilience that emanates from within, from the very act of being finely tuned to the deep, underlying rhythms of the endeavor itself. This is a kind of natural intelligence, a quiet embodied wisdom of the body and spirit working in seamless, peaceful, unified concert. Philosophy, for the Stoics, was never conceived as a mere intellectual pastime, something to be idly read about or leisurely discussed. It was, at its very core, a practice, a rigorous and dedicated training, a way of life devoted to the constant, unceasing cultivation of goodness, wisdom, and profound inner strength. And so we can take their time-honored, proven methods and thoughtfully apply them to construct our own robust, resilient, Stoic archery practice. These are not necessarily grand, dramatic gestures, but rather small, consistent, and mindfully undertaken efforts that slowly, incrementally build inner fortitude over time, much like the slow, steady drawing of a heavy bow, where each repetition contributes to its stored potential power. The dichotomy of control log. Keep a small dedicated notebook solely for this purpose. After each practice session, or even following a series of shots that particularly stood out, carefully inscribe 2 lists. In the first, under the heading Up to Me, enumerate those things that were genuinely within your direct, immediate control, the quality of your focus on stance and posture, the smoothness and consistency of your draw, whether you diligently followed your mental checklist prior to release, the rhythm and depth of your breathing, how you consciously chose to react to the preceding shot. In the second list, titled Not Up to Me, record those elements that lay outside your direct control, a sudden, unforeseen gust of wind, a minute, almost invisible flaw in an arrow that only became apparent in its flight, the precise point of impact if it was significantly off, despite a subjectively good release, an unexpected noise that momentarily broke your concentration. This simple yet profoundly effective act of committing these distinctions to writing reinforces Epictetus's central, liberating teaching. Over time you will find your mental and emotional energies naturally, almost effortlessly, gravitating towards what you can genuinely influence, while gracefully, peacefully relinquishing your hold on what you cannot. This practice is akin to retraining your mind's habitual pathways, guiding it towards more constructive and serene patterns of thought, premeditatio malorum. Before embarking upon a significant competition, or even a particularly challenging practice session, you intend to push your boundaries. Take a few quiet, undisturbed moments for yourself. Calmly and vividly imagine various things going awry. Picture yourself shooting a disappointingly poor first round. Envision a crucial piece of your equipment failing at the most inopportune moment, a frayed string, a loosened sight. Imagine the sensation of pressure becoming almost overwhelmingly intense. Then, for each scenario you have conjured calmly and logically, plan how you would ideally react in a Stoic manner. If I shoot badly, I shall take a deep centering breath, recall my training and trust in what I know, and then focus with absolute completeness on the very next shot, as if it were an entirely fresh, untarnished opportunity. If my sight becomes loose, I shall calmly and meticulously fix it, without succumbing to agitation or rushing, and then re-establish my focus. If the pressure begins to feel overwhelming, I shall acknowledge the sensation, and then deliberately redirect my attention back to those elements of my technique that I can indeed control. This is not about cultivating negativity or morbidly wishing for adverse events. It is about rehearsing your calm, rational response, so that when the unexpected inevitably occurs, it does not derail you. It is in essence a controlled exposure to stress, a way of building your mental toughness and resilience. The view from above. When you find yourself beginning to experience frustration after a few errant shots, or when one single arrow assumes an outsized, all-consuming importance in your mind, try this potent mental maneuver inspired by Marcus Aurelius. Imagine yourself ascending, rising up, and looking down upon the archery field from a great, almost celestial height. See yourself, a small figure amongst other small figures. Encompass the entire range in your view, then the town or countryside that surrounds it, then your country, the continent, the whole spinning earth, a tiny, iridescent jewel suspended in the unimaginable vastness of space. From this immense, almost cosmic vantage point, that one missed arrow, that immediate pressing weight of the competition, inevitably, naturally, diminishes in significance. It is an excellent method for gaining perspective, for remembering the sheer scale of the universe, and the relative smallness of this single moment, this one particular shot, within the grand sweeping tapestry of existence. This practice aids in fostering a degree of healthy detachment, and reduces the often intrusive involvement of the ego, which aligns perfectly with Marcus's frequent, poignant reminders to himself about his own humble place in the larger order of things. The Stoic pause. This is a practice for which Epictetus held a particular fondness and advocated strongly. When you are confronted with something challenging, make a conscious, deliberate effort to pause before you react. In that brief, precious interval, reflect upon what has just transpired. Ask yourself, is this thing that has happened truly, objectively bad, or is it primarily my opinion about it that is causing me distress? Is my initial emotional reaction grounded in reason, or is it merely a reflexive, conditioned feeling? This pause creates a vital space between the event and your response, allowing your rational mind, your capacity for reason, to intervene and choose a thoughtful, virtuous action instead of a purely emotional, often counterproductive reaction. For an archer, this might translate into taking a full conscious breath after a wayward arrow, deliberately relaxing the shoulders and mentally regrouping, recentering before knocking the next one. Role ethics and virtue alignment. Reflect regularly and deeply on what it means to be a good archer, not merely in terms of scores achieved, but in the richer, more profound Stoic sense of being a virtuous individual. Consider the cardinal Stoic virtues: wisdom, understanding what is truly good, bad, and indifferent in the context of archery; discerning what you can control, making sound judgments regarding your technique and the prevailing conditions; justice, exhibiting fairness in competitions, maintaining honesty in your scoring, showing respect to fellow archers and officials, being willing to share your knowledge and experience; courage, facing challenging conditions or the inherent pressures of competition with fortitude, persevering when your performance temporarily declines; possessing the moral courage, honestly confront your weaknesses; temperance, avoiding excessive ambition or an obsessive fixation on winning; maintaining control over your emotions, refraining from becoming overly elated by success or unduly dejected by setbacks; demonstrating discipline in your practice. By consciously endeavoring to act and think in alignment with these virtues, while you are at the archery range, you transform your sport into a potent avenue for profound personal growth and character development. Engaging with scholarly dialogue and broader resonances, the Stoic archer does not exist in an intellectual vacuum. Their philosophy resonates harmoniously with other significant streams of thought, such as Aristotle's emphasis on striving for excellence in all endeavors. Aristotle would undoubtedly perceive a skilled archer consistently hitting the target as a clear demonstration of such excellence. Stoicism concurs with this pursuit of excellence, but posits that the paramount factor is one's inner state, your virtuous intentions and clarity of thought, rather than solely the external outcome, such as striking the bullseye. Hitting the target is commendable, certainly, but the inherent goodness residing in the earnest attempt to do your best is what truly fundamentally matters. This perspective cultivates a robust inner resilience, for one can always aim to be a good person, to act virtuously irrespective of external results. This distinguishes Stoicism from certain existentialist viewpoints. While both Stoicism and existentialism underscore our inherent freedom of choice, Stoicism situates this freedom within a rationally ordered universe and encourages us to live in accordance with nature. Many existentialist thinkers, such as Jean-Paul Sartre, emphasize our radical freedom in a universe devoid of inherent meaning, where we must create our own values from scratch. The Stoic archer discovers meaning and freedom by aligning themselves with the cosmic order and perfecting their inner self. An existentialist archer might find meaning in the sheer act of choosing to be an archer and defining themselves through that passionate commitment, irrespective of external validation or a preordained universal plan. The Stoic perceives a path illuminated by reason. The existentialist often forges their own way in the darkness. Modern sports psychology, frequently without explicit acknowledgement, echoes a multitude of Stoic principles. Influential figures like Albert Ellis, the founder of rational emotive behavior therapy, openly cited Stoicism as a significant influence. Concepts such as attentional focus, process orientation, emotional regulation, cognitive restructuring, and goal setting are commonplace in contemporary sports psychology, evident in the work of researchers like Daniel Moran or practitioners employing cognitive behavioral therapy in sports contexts, and possess deep, undeniable roots in Stoic practical wisdom. The Stoic archer is in many respects an early progenitor of the sports psychologist, employing ancient wisdom to optimize performance and cultivate mental well-being. These practices, when embraced with genuine commitment and applied with unwavering consistency, possess the power to transform They intricately weave the robust principles of Stoic philosophy into the very fabric of your archery, elevating it from a mere sport or enjoyable hobby into a profound and deeply rewarding discipline for cultivating lasting inner strength, lucid thinking, and a resilient spirit capable of facing any target, and indeed any of life's myriad challenges, with a steady, calm, and knowing gaze. Conclusion: the Stoic archer, an enduring model of inner strength and serene focus. And so the Stoic archer steps forth to the line, an embodiment of calm, unwavering presence. The world immediately around them may well be a veritable whirlwind of whispered anxieties, of fierce consuming ambition, of the fleeting ephemeral joy of success and the sudden sharp pang of failure. Yet within the quiet, inviolable sanctuary of their mind they diligently cultivate a deep and abiding sense of peace. Their gaze is steady, directed not solely at the distant, alluring goal of the target, but also inward upon the rich and varied, often tumultuous, landscape of their own thoughts and feelings. They know well the familiar, reassuring weight of the bow in their hand, the keen, vibrant potential of the arrow resting patiently upon the shelf, and the profound, elemental truth that the very heart of the shot commences long before the string is ever drawn, and its truest, most enduring echo resonates deep within the soul long after the arrow has found its appointed mark, or has perchance flown wide of it. This archer, having walked the philosophical path alongside Epictetus, understands with profound clarity the subtle, yet incredibly liberating, power that flows from focusing their precious energy only upon that which they can truly, undeniably control. The intrinsic quality and unwavering honesty of their effort, the lucid, disciplined clarity of their thoughts, the steadfast, inherent goodness of their actions. They have, in the reflective chambers of their mind, journeyed with Seneca through a thoughtful, unflinching contemplation of life's manifold difficulties, and thus the unexpected, capricious gust of wind, the frustratingly broken arrow, the suffocating, palpable pressure of a crucial, decisive moment, these find them prepared, not panicked, thoughtfully responsive, not merely blindly reactive. Their emotional weather is, in essence, their own carefully tended inner climate. They observe its inevitable shifts and subtle changes without being overwhelmed or unceremoniously swept away by its potential storms. From the emperor-philosopher Marcus Aurelius, they have learned the invaluable, indispensable skill of building and diligently maintaining that inner citadel, that sovereign ruling mind, a sacred, hallowed space of unwavering purpose and unshakable calm, where the solemn intrinsic duty to the shot well executed becomes its own profound, undeniable reward. They strive with earnest dedication to live in peaceful, resonant harmony with the inherent nature of the shot itself, meticulously aligning their physical form with the immutable, unyielding laws of physics and mechanics, and patiently tuning their spirit with the enduring, timeless virtues of reason, resilience, and heartfelt fellowship. Each arrow released becomes a potent, living practice, not merely of technical skill, but of philosophy in vibrant, dynamic, embodied action. The target, in a manner both profound and deeply liberating, becomes progressively less important. The true ultimate aim is the careful, assiduous cultivation of a steadfast heart, an unshakable inner peace, and the full, unhindered expression of their rational, virtuous human nature, thereby moving ever closer towards that cherished state of genuine flourishing, of eudaimonia. This resonant image of the Stoic archer offers us a lasting and deeply inspiring exemplar, its relevance stretching undiminished across the centuries, speaking with remarkable directness to our own contemporary struggles for meaning, for composure, for an anchor in the storm. It is an example of inner strength discovered not in the facile pretense that difficulties do not exist, but in confronting them with unwavering courage, keen intelligence, and inherent goodness. It is a model of serene, unwavering focus, born from a deep and abiding understanding of what truly, fundamentally matters, what we genuinely possess the power to shape, to influence, and to hold on to. The flight of the arrow, when one truly pauses to consider its trajectory, serves as a poignant and powerfully evocative metaphor for so much of human life. We pour our best selves, our most dedicated, heartfelt efforts into the sending, into the initiation of action, and then with grace, with wisdom, and with acceptance, we must let it go, acknowledging where it lands, always learning, always growing, always aspiring. The quiver may, in time, eventually empty. The targets may be gathered in from the field as the soft evening light begins to fade, but the quiet, indomitable strength of the Stoic archer, that unwavering, clear-sighted, and knowing gaze, remains. It is a quality, a presence that settles deep within the spirit, like the last fading, resonant hum of the bowstring in the profound stillness of the evening, a story told, beautifully, evocatively unfinished, and deeply, personally, authentically true. The journey along this hallowed path, much like the path of wisdom itself, continues ever onward, with each breath, each arrow, each conscious, deliberate choice a further, meaningful step towards that inner citadel where true peace and genuine flourishing eternally reside.